The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it is Monday in the red. Off we go with the corona.
We're ready for the Captain COVID report. The Captain COVID report starts out with 106,882 cases in the state of Massachusetts, 218 new cases, 8,213 total deaths with 12 new deaths. Bristol County has 8,681, and Fall River saw 5 new cases yesterday, bringing us up to 1,690, and we're still at 113 deaths. So we're doing pretty good still, although we're still climbing, and maybe this is why we're classified as a hotspot, as I said in previous shows.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, the whole thing is it's gone from the ridiculous to the sublime. Because I was watching a poll this morning, and this is the most important election issue, which is absurd in my opinion. But how are you going to make a medical issue and you expect the government? See, the people always complain about government. They're complaining on one hand about the government locking them in their houses and denying them their constitutional rights and freedom of choice. But on the other hand, it's become the most important campaign issue. They want the government, and regardless of who's the president, they want a total non-medical personnel person to fix everything like immediately, like he can wave some magic wand and fix this. All they can do is do what they did. They get a whole bunch of doctors in here, and even the doctors can't agree. I mean, it's just ludicrous. When I look at this, it just, again, reaffirms my opinion that the American electorate is one of the dumbest electorates on the planet Earth. They vote on everything except their own good. They don't look at a candidate and say, well, who can make my life better? Who can fix the economy? Who will address issues that are important to me as a citizen? No, they make a healthcare issue and expect government to fix it. Well, government can't fix anything. You know, we all know how screwed up government is. And the reality is, to make this a major issue in the campaign just goes to show it's an indictment of the intelligence of the American voter.
I agree. I totally agree with you. I think that, we're arguing over, how are we going to open schools and how are we going to open up the economy more? And are we going to wear masks? Are we not going to wear masks? And we have scientists and medical personnel who are giving us the roadmap that we should follow. But people who think they know better are going to interject their opinions, which creates more of an issue. And I think that's where we have a problem. And we have a lot of misinformation that goes out there, and the conspiracy theorists take on that. So then we've got a third wing of craziness that is going on in the background. So it doesn't make it any easier, that's for sure.
Well, yeah, it's true, because look, let's face it, they've done, as far as I'm concerned, what can they do? They have 3 or 4 or maybe even 5 now manufacturers that are getting close to coming up with some kind of drug. And they're talking about it at the beginning of the year. And so that's all you can do. You got a new disease. There's really no treatment. You got a whole bunch of medical people trying to formulate opinions based on incomplete data, because and I know that you need a lot more data on these things and a lot more testing to really prove any theory. But the American public, because they're hedonistic and their hedonistic desire to have everything right now. Everything I want right now. So now they're going to blame the government. Fix it. If you don't fix it, you're screwing up. I don't care who the president of the United States. What can you do? You get a whole bunch of drug companies getting rich, looking for a drug, and you get a whole bunch of doctors trying to sift through the information and come up with, as you said, some logical guidelines. And they're subject to change because as information comes in, things change. I mean, look, they didn't want to oust the all the monarchs in Europe when the bubonic plague was disseminating Europe. They didn't blame them. At least they didn't blame it on the kings, or maybe the kings would have chopped their heads off anyway. But the reality is, this is absurd. This is absurd. It shows how ridiculous these people are. On one hand, they want the government to give them everything. And on the other hand, they don't want the government interfering in anything they do. But then when it comes to this, fix it. And if you don't fix it, it's your fault. You're not a doctor. I don't think, to my knowledge, we've ever had a president that was an MD, did we? At least in my opinion. I know Lincoln was a lawyer, but I don't remember one. And look, this is a medical problem the entire world's working on. Obviously, we're doing as well as everybody else because, to my knowledge, no other country that's experienced COVID has fixed it yet. And everybody seems to forget that.
Well,
so it's COVID turned into a thing, but it is true. It's crazy.
It is crazy. Well, back to the policing bill. Last night, again in secret, the House voted on a Sunday night meeting in secret again, okay, in committee, their own version of the police reform bill, which would also curb the use of qualified immunity, a controversial legal principle that can shed police officers from civil lawsuits in cases of misconduct. The problem is the way it was written in the Senate bill also took away the qualified immunity from fire, nurses, people who are good Samaritans. There were too many people it took away qualified immunity for. So if the House did it the same way, we're going to have an issue. And with them doing this all in secret, we have no idea what's happening. Now, if you read the Weekend Flush, which I'm sure you did, you'll notice that I put in there that they want to tap on to Senate 2800, a bill H 3102, which will grant licenses to illegal aliens. And I deliberately used the term illegal aliens throughout the article. And believe me, I got a lot of flack for it because they did not come here legally. They broke the law to come here. I'm not going to use a euphemism, undocumented, to allow them the right to say, look, I'm just undocumented. I didn't do anything wrong. Yes, you did. You broke the law. It's illegal. And I use that term very strongly, and I got a lot of flack for it, and I don't care. All right? That's what it is.
Yeah, well, look, you got a lot of flack from a bunch of boneheads who, as I said, just like they want the government to cure the problem, then they're going to complain that the government's restricting their rights. They think that they can use their words because everything, whoa, you use the wrong pronoun. Oh, you use this. You're going to lose your job, lose everything. You're going to get flack. Listen, you violate the law, you violated the law. Changing what you refer to somebody as does not change what they did. They came into this country illegally, and shame on all these nitwits, because the fact is that their parents or grandparents or great grandparents, or even the ones that came over on the Mayflower, came over here legally. And you're insulting all the people who have to wait, who came through Ellis Island with nothing in their pockets and became Americans. And also, by the way, suffered all kinds of abuses and discriminations. I believe when they tried to take down a statue of Columbus Day, referring to the day, there was a day when they hung 600 Italian Americans. They were Italians at the time, but they became Italian Americans. The Chinese had their head bashed. They actually had organizations to go out and kill Chinese on the West Coast. And many Irish were killed, every ethnic group. So, this is why they want to erase history. Because if you don't, if you have your pea brain is not overexhausted by looking at reality, you can create your own nirvana. This is it. We're going to call them undocumented. Undocumented, my what? They're illegals. Call them what they are. Call them what they are. And what you're doing is let's do the same thing for everything, man. You know something? Well, we're doing it anyway. Now, drug addiction's a disease. It's not a choice. Now it's a disease. And methadone. I saw a commercial the other day. You've probably seen it. I know you love it. Talking about how they've been treating it, and they talked about methadone. They're trying to keep methadone. How long have we been using methadone, CJ? You know that better.
20, 30 years.
20, 30 years. It hasn't put a dent in this, right? But you know why? They make money on methadone. They make money on methadone. So they're going to keep it, even though it's proven to be virtually ineffective, totally ineffective, we're still paying. And we're footing the bill for the junkies. We're footing the bills for the illegals. We want to give them licenses. We want to give them health care. We want to give, you can want to give them, and you can get as pissed off as you want at me, because I have a right to my opinion. They came here illegally. They don't belong here. Because the next time, let them invade your living room and take all your money and see how you like it. Because, they come to this country the wrong way. And what's the answer now? They want to open up the borders and let everybody come. Well, guess what? We won't have a country, because if we end up with what they want, this country will no longer exist. Because guess what? How many people are going to remain working if everybody who doesn't work gets an annual salary, gets free health care, free everything, and they have to go to work to pay for this? So how long do you think they're going to work? Use your damn head for something besides a hack rack. How long do you think people are going to work? So we're going to have a country of people who are basically on welfare, and then the country will collapse because we'll have no economy. Because the only economy will be, how are you going to get money to pay for all this? You have to have people working. Corporations will all move out of the country, and all the people here will say, well, the hell, why should I work? I can just go home, sit on my butt, and get a paycheck. And the country will basically disappear, will be annexed by Mexico and Canada. So this is beyond bizarre. You look at it and you wonder what, they have no grasp on reality. No grasp of reality. They don't know about the real world. They're talking about this, that, and the other thing in the United States and how terrible it is. But guess what? Slavery still exists in the world. There are countries that still have slavery. Well, if you're really that interested in human rights, go over there and try to tell their tyrannical governments that you're against slavery. And guess what? Then one of two things will happen. You either become a slave or you become dead. So
that's true.
That's this really puts a burr in my saddle. I'll tell you. We start talking about stuff like this, and our politicians are weak-kneed, weasel. I'll do and say and capitulate to anything to get reelected politicians, and then go hide. At least have a set of coyotes. Get up there and do it in public. Do it under the light of scrutiny. Don't go hide in the corner like you did when you gave yourself the pay raise during a Halloween massacre. Have enough courage to at least tell the people you're screwing them and do it out in the light of day.
I agree. While we're speaking on welfare and things like that, this is the last week of the $600 bonus in unemployment, because when next week's filing comes up, it actually gets filed in August, not in July. So it'll be past the deadline date. So this will be the last week that you can file for the $600 a week. And people are already complaining that the Democrats are now starting to scream that we need to extend this. Where are we going to get the money from it or for it? I don't know. I still can't figure that out. Where everyone wants us to spend this money, to extend this money, to do this, to do that. But where is the money going to come from? That's trillions of dollars that we don't have in our economy. They're expecting us to just say, okay, yep, here you go. Here's another $600 extra a week. And people on Facebook are actually crying that without it, I won't be able to live. Well, if that was never put in place, how would you be living right now? You would have got a friggin' job. You would have gotten a job. So don't give me that, oh, I can't live without this, because it was never there in the first place. That was the mistake that the government made. They put that welfare out there and everyone took benefit of it. $2,400 a month. You didn't get that, Chip. I didn't get that. A lot of other people didn't get that. But they get $2,400 extra a month on top of what they get from unemployment, and they're still whining about it. There's never enough for them. There's never enough money.
No, you're right. Well, guess what? This is intentional. The Democrats want, this is a re-election thing. They're going to give everybody for free and worry about paying for it later, like they always do. And they're going to be able to campaign and say, you see, we gave you all this money. It's a disincentive to work. They're enabling people not to go back to work. Who wants to go back to work at a marginal job when you're making more money when you're sitting home? Nobody. Nobody loves their barely above minimum wage job that much, where if you tell them you're going to give them basically 3 times what they were making for staying home, they're going to run back to work. They need to be checked for their mental acuity if they went back to work. I mean, this is nothing more than pure politics. And they don't care, CG. That's where we're going to get the money. They don't care. They don't care. This is the federal government. They just keep running up the deficit, printing money that's worthless, and they're going to destroy the economy. That's what they want, because then we'll get the socialistic society they want. Everybody will be waiting for the government to give them a handout, and they will tell you, you think it's bad now? They'll tell you what you can do, can't do. They'll set all the rules so you can even get a loaf of bread, because they'll destroy the place for their own political gain. Because guess what? The congressmen didn't lose their job. The senators didn't lose their jobs. They didn't lose their health care. They didn't lose anything. So they don't care. They just don't care. That's the reality of what's happening. It's everything in this country now is political. We're entering probably one of the most hotly contested and most divisive elections in the history of the United States. So everything they do is politically motivated. Does it make economic sense? No. But look at all the programs that they've created. Now the drugs have become a disease because people make money on it. And I'll bet you that most of those congressmen own stocks in the drug companies, because we all know about how much money they made before the lockdown began by selling off their stocks. There were 4 or 5 congressmen that got taken to task. But what happened to that? I invoked the Terry Sullivan law. They kept their mouths shut. They kept their heads down. And now it's gone. Everybody except us forgot it. They forgot about how much money these people made on stocks and bonds. They forgot how much Pelosi made. Remember Pelosi? She made millions. And the stock portfolio for that other senator from Georgia, whose husband was the president of the New York Stock Exchange. Oh, talk about insider trading, talk about this, talk about that. Talk's gone now. Move on to the next news cycle, and they all went to the bank and stuffed their safety deposit boxes with cash. So, if you can't see this, and most people can't, well, this is the reason we get what we deserve for a government.
And remember, the House and the Senate are immune from prosecution for insider trading. So there's a perk right there. And the fact that they get their salary for the rest of their life is also another perk. And the fact that they get all of that health care for the rest of their life is another perk. What about the people that were just put out of work because of COVID? How were their health benefits maintained? Was it maintained under COBRA? Did their employer maintain their health care? Did they pay for it? And they paid their usual copay? I mean, nobody discussed any of that. Or did they all go on Mass Health Connector? Or did they all go on Mass Health? I mean, what happened? Nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about where the healthcare dollars went or where they're coming from. Because this is having effects not only at the federal level, it's having effects at the state level. And the amounts of money we're talking about are outrageous at times. Because it's not like we're talking about $5 or $10 or 500 or 1,000 or a million or 10 million or 100 million. We're talking about trillions with a T. We're talking about trillions of dollars. And we don't have it as a country, never mind as a state. And when you're looking at the state saying, how much money can we cut so that we can pass a budget, which we still don't have for the 2021 year, the cities aren't having a budget because they're dependent. Some cities like Fall River are dependent on state funds. It just makes it worse. And they think that by doing it the way they're doing it, it's all right. No. A couple of cities and towns have already developed budgets. New Bedford's one of them, to bring their city forward for the next year with some expected cuts. How come Fall River couldn't do that? How come our mayor didn't have the backbone, or his financial team didn't have the backbone to come up with a potential budget, regardless of the amount of money the state gave us? That's their job. That's what they should have done. That's what they should have done. I understand they're trying to do it safely, but you know what? We can't wait much longer. You're coming up to 1/4 of a year very shortly, and you still don't have a budget. You can't live that way. You cannot live that way. Neither can the people of Fall River, not knowing where things are going. And it's so bad that even parts of the budget which generate revenue haven't been approved because there's no budget. So again, what do? It's Fall River. Who cares?
Well, it's the entire country. But to get back to what you said about the congressmen, their health care, they don't have any co-pays. They don't have anything. They don't pay for their drugs. They don't pay for anything. So of course they don't care because they are never touched by the chaos they create. So, as you said, on a city level, like we have to come up. But Fall River's always historically been a welfare city. Without assistance, Fall River would have collapsed years ago because we are totally dependent on federal and state money to basically run anything. And so along those lines, how bad we're deteriorating because, they say there's no, this is all okay, according to some of these media outlets, and we just have a few people, but the society's unraveling. I saw it this morning on TV, and I just got it in. Federal Judge Esther Salas, her husband was critically shot, and her son was murdered by a gunman this morning. She is looking over she was just appointed to look over the Deutsche Bank investigation, and so her husband has been hospitalized in critical condition. Her son has been shot and killed at her own home. And this is the society we've created now. We want to defund the police. We want to hug everybody. And these are the kind of people that have become emboldened. Lunatics are not running the asylum, and they have no regard because at least before they worried about police. Now they don't even worry about police. Police don't even. But in many cities, they're not even allowed to touch them. They withdraw. They allow them to destroy everything, and the hell with the businesses. The hell with the lives that are lost. And this is a travesty. This country has now. I mean, you might as well go live in Guatemala or El Salvador, where they shoot people in the streets and they run around and do anything they want. And this is the thing. This is the United States, a country of laws, a country that was supposed to be created to become a melting pot. Or as Teddy Roosevelt said, we are all supposed to become an American. Nobody is a hyphenated American. And as he said in his famous speech, he said he knew many naturalized citizens, and they're some of the greatest people he knows. But there's no such thing as a hyphenated American, and everybody's a hyphen today. Everybody's got a hyphen because nobody wants to let go of anything and become an American, and that's one of the problems with America. And he said in his speech, there's no such thing as a German American or a whatever. But in those days, there were so many ethnic groups that weren't here. But Roosevelt said that. In other words, you come to America. This is why you came to America. It's a melting pot. It's no longer a melting pot. It's come to America and keep your own. All you do is come to America to take the benefits of America without ever becoming loyal to the country that's giving you what you're getting. And so that's one of the problems we have, as you said. Everybody wants a handout, but nobody wants to be told to abide by the laws and become an American.
That's it, no question about it. Hey, do you like the Bahamas?
The what?
Do you like the Bahamas?
The Bahamas.
Yeah, do you like them? Do you like the Bahamas?
Oh, the Bahamas. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I must have had stuff in my ear. That's okay. I prefer it.
Well, guess what? You can't go.
Prefer Aruba.
You can't go.
No.
Bahamas Prime Minister Hubert Minnis announced over the weekend that the country will block American tourists from entry as U.S. coronavirus numbers continue to surge. He also announced that flights to the U.S. would be stopped. The state of the pandemic in the Bahamas, Mona said, has grown worse at an exponential rate since the reopening of international borders, adding that its total cases stand at 153, including 49 new cases since the full reopening of borders July 1st. So guess what? Again, the U.S. is blocked from another country. Yay!
Hey, nobody wants us. Look at these. They can't follow orders. They can't follow directions. They tell them to wear masks, and they have riots because they don't want to wear masks. But then they want a handout. They want $600 extra for not working. But then you can't even follow simple instructions to try to control the virus. Well, nobody really wants it. It's not the only country that's not really. I think mostly all of Europe doesn't want Americans over there.
I know it's getting scary.
Where it's going to be next? Next, it'll be Aruba and all the other islands in the Caribbean, Curacao and Barbados and all. Soon we'll be banned from everywhere. Stay in your own country. Everybody go to Portland, Oregon, and run around and throw stuff.
It's getting crazy. And again, as we're listening to states like Texas, like Florida, that their numbers are surging, we've got to be prepared for this because those states have reopened their economies, and now, and especially in California is looking at shutting everything down again and issuing a stay-at-home order. So is this what we want here in Massachusetts, or do we want to continue to slowly reopen the economy? I would rather slowly reopen the economy and be on the right side of the fence than to go and become California or Florida or Texas. So that makes it that way. Well, it looks like we're out of time. We've got a few seconds left. I want to thank everyone for watching. If you haven't read The Weekend Flush, please, it's available online. If you would like to subscribe, you can do that as well. I greatly appreciate the opportunity to come into your home and speak with you, and hopefully you'll pay attention and stay angry. Stay safe.
Boy, you an optimist. You're hoping they're going to listen. All I can say is I will close by saying, if you violate a law, you have done something illegal. That goes for any law, including immigration laws. You have done something illegal if you violate a law. I rest my case.
Thanks for watching.